All right, when you move the camera, you're going to move it just for the sake of this seminar to simplify matters. You can move it sometimes when you're not shooting a master, but about 98% of the time you move the camera when you're shooting the master. And so what I'm going to really teach you is, like, if you know how to shoot a good moving master shot, you basically know that's going to teach you about 98% of what you need to know about visual design, about designing shots to cover the story in your film. And the master shot, again, this is the shot, as I said, where you show the big picture. You know, everything that the audience needs to see in the scene to understand what happens next in the film. So if the camera is going to cover a lot of ground, this is the shot that it's going to do it in. So let me talk you through this shot, and then we'll start talking about how this shot satisfies the 5 tasks that every good moving master shot satisfies. Okay, so this is Pickett's charge at the Battle of Gettysburg. Okay, which was, sort of like probably the most important charge at the most important battle in the Civil War. So let's say that this was a movie about these two characters, these two Southern Confederate soldiers, Jake and Elroy. Okay, and you know that you're with General Lee's army, which has invaded the North. You've come to Gettysburg. You've met the Union Army, there, and if you win the Battle of Gettysburg, you probably will turn the tide for the South finally in the war. And the battle goes on for a couple of days, and it's sort of unresolved. Then General Lee orders General Pickett to take the Union center, right? So Pickett's forces are on this side of this field. They have to go across this field and attack the Union forces on this side of the field and take that position. And you're with Jake and Elroy the night before, and you're sitting around the campfire, and you've gone through the entire movie with these two guys. They're talking about the big battle the next day, and what's obviously on their minds? Are they going to die? Are they going to die? Because that's, they're going to be walking into a hail of fire, and a lot of people are going to get killed, and the chances are pretty good that they might not be so lucky. So you cut to the next morning, and here you see the army in gray on the right side of the field and the army in blue on the left side of the field, and the field in between. Okay, so now the camera drops down and comes around onto just the Confederate line, okay? And it drops through these trees, and it comes up to this division here. This is one battalion, the Texas Battalion. So if you have the Union Army over here, the Confederate Army over here, you start out, you're pointing this way. There's the camera looking down, okay? You see that? And now the camera comes around and points onto the Confederate side over here, and it starts to push in and travel right to left. And so we come in tighter on this one division, and we maybe recognize this guy as Jake and Elroy's commanding officer. And now the commanding officer, sounds the charge. The bugler blows the bugle, and everybody starts charging forward. So we've come over to about here, and now they're charging forward, and we start to back up as they charge forward. So we back up, and they come closer, and here we begin to recognize our two main characters, Jake and Elroy, and now here they are in the middle of the charge, yelling and screaming as they charge the Union middle. Now we're backing up in front of them, and now Elroy gets shot. And at which point, they're running forward, the two guys, and Elroy gets shot, and now what happens is Jake turns around and faces Elroy. It becomes an over-the-shoulder shot, so the camera pushes in, and then he says, don't leave me, Jake, I'm hit. And Jake says, I'm not leaving you, And we push in, and he dies. Okay, end of shot. All right, so that's a pretty big, expensive, moving master shot that, you know, Orson Welles and, you know, Alfred Hitchcock would be proud of. Okay, now, the 5 tasks, every moving shot does 5 things, okay? And the first thing that every moving shot does is establish geography, okay? Which is to say, it shows the audience everything they need to see to understand and believe what happens next. This is crucial to every scene because by establishing geography, you see where everybody is in the scene in relation to everybody else, because in the wide shot, you need to see that because the entire scene is not going to be shot in wide shots. They're going to be close-ups and over the shoulders, in which instead of seeing everybody in the scene, you're only going to see one person, right? And they're going to be looking in a certain direction, and you will know who they're looking at because in the master gives you everything, and you kind of retain a ghost image of where the people are off camera when you're looking at just a piece of that everything. You see in your mind's eye the other pieces because it was shown to you in the master shot, right? So when he gets shot here with this bullet that goes through his chest, right? Where did that bullet come from? From the Union. You know that somebody over here fired a rifle and it went through his chest. If he was talking off camera in this 2-shot to somebody off camera, you would know who he was talking to because you saw it in the master. Task 1, which is a very important thing, which every master has to do, show the audience everything they need to see to understand and believe what happens next. How far into this moving master have you gone when you've accomplished task 1? How far do you have to go in this progression to accomplish task 1?
Not far.
Not far. How far? Alice, is that it?
Shot.
Alice?
Yes.
The opening shot.
Yes.
This shot. That's it. This shows you everything. So you see this army in blue over here. So now, as you tighten up on the army in gray, you know that on either side of them there is a whole army of Confederate soldiers. And you know that facing them there is a whole army of Union soldiers. And you know that from that shot. So task 1 is, which says you show the audience everything they need to see to understand and believe what happens next, is usually done at the beginning, at the very beginning of the moving master.